Sometimes the only thing standing between you and success is doing exactly what you say you're going to do. That accountability is what we're going to talk about today. Okay, here's the show. Welcome to More Than a Few Words, a marketing conversation for business owners. MTFW is part of the Digital Toolbox, and this is your host, Lorraine Ball. You know, one of the keys to being successful is often having someone or something to hold you accountable. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I couldn't think of a better person to have this conversation with than Don Markland. He's the host of The Morning Jolt. He's an entrepreneur, sales, and marketing executive. He's been a contributor to Forbes, and he runs his own business coaching firm. Over the last few years, he's been an award-winning entrepreneur and was named to Utah Business Magazine's Top 40 Under 40. Don, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lorraine, thank you so much for bringing me on. And I want to say before we even get any of my stuff, thank you for having such a great avenue for people to learn about marketing and business growth. If I could go back 20 years and have this type of insight, it would have saved so much pain. So thank you for just providing a place where people like myself can go and listen and learn.
Well, thank you. I have really enjoyed it. This has been a labor of love. Well, we've passed our 11th year, so we've been doing this a long time.
Oh, wow.
And I love every conversation and every opportunity to meet someone new and learn something new. And today, you're going to tell me about the 4 C's of accountability.
I sure am. Yeah, I would love to. I love talking about it. I'll tell you first where it came from, right? How I
Yes.
came up with the 4 C's. So I was in my mid 20s, about 26 years old. And, I was a vice president of operations. I was successful, but I was about 70 pounds overweight than I am now. And my beautiful wife and 3 kids who I never saw. From all these degrees, I was very successful, but inside, I was a mess. I was just a ticking time bomb. And one day I was in the middle of a long road trip. I traveled like 20 something times a year back then. And I was in Rock Falls, Illinois. And I remember I'd just done this long training and I had just finished a chalupa. I don't know if you've ever been to Taco Bell, but boy, I sure loved those. And I sat there and I thought, this can't be what my life's about. There's got to be a better way. And I needed clarity. And so I sat and I thought about it. And I remember this quote from Bob Proctor, who said that accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. And I just realized I needed to do something different. And so I created my little program, the 4 C's of accountability, sitting right there in this little notebook. And it was a total cheat for Don just to be better. But then as I did, I lost weight. I saw my wife more. And luckily she liked the thinner me, which was a big, big win. And I also went and I taught it to my team and they did better. We ended up growing that business to about 50 million in size. And I joined a startup and did it for them. And then even when my wife got cancer, she got diagnosed with cancer when I was 26, she was 27. And we got through it because of accountability, doing what we would say we were going to do. And it made the biggest difference in our lives. And now I teach it to businesses all over the world and help them, not just from a sales and marketing perspective, but doing what we're going to say we're going to do with systems and processes so we can scale.
Awesome. Understanding where this comes from and seeing the impact it's made in your life is amazing. So now, how do I get started? I want to start down this path, and obviously I've already downloaded your ebook. I haven't started reading it
That's
yet,
okay.
but I've got it. But for my audience, what are the first building blocks, those 4 C's?
Yep.
Tell me about C number 1.
Well, and before the C's, there's actually 2 rules that encompass them. So I'll hit those real quick. The first rule is accountability always starts with me. I can't go into a room or a new environment or a relationship and point at you. I have to first start and say, okay, how did I contribute to this? And I don't care what it is. I don't care if IT really did screw up. And by the way, IT usually screws up, but it doesn't matter. What did I do to contribute to that? Did I not communicate, give enough clear directions, not follow up? You start with yourself first.
Okay, so accountability starts with me. That you said there were 2
Yep.
rules. You just gave me one.
Yep. Now, the second rule is there are no egos in accountability. Anybody can hold you accountable. And I teach it with a stupid sports metaphor about baseball. If I throw a pitch at you, Lorraine, and you swing and you miss, that's a strike. And it doesn't matter if the umpire called it a strike, or if the opposing player called it a strike, or a fan in the stands calls it a strike. You still swung and you missed. And so many times we spend all this time and energy arguing with people. It's not your job to tell me where I screwed up. It's not you do it too. You're a hypocrite. Well, no crap, people are hypocrites. We all are. That doesn't mean you didn't screw up.
Mhm.
So let go of your ego, tell them thank you, and now try again. Right?
Mhm.
So those are the rules that encompass the 4 C's.
And I love this idea of owning where you are and using that as a starting point for action, because I've always approached problem solving that way, that this is screwed up. I don't really care how we got here. Let's fix it, and then later we can go back and figure out how we got here, but let's figure out how we get out of this mess. And I love this idea that to do that you have to start looking internal.
You said something really cool about starting where you are and owning where you are. I remember when I was young, this is a stupid, silly story, but when I was young, we had to move. We had this big 1908 piano. I mean, this thing was the size of a car, and we'd have to move it around our house. And my dad always taught, because when we were really young, we couldn't lift it. And he said, remember, when you're in a team, lift where you stand. Wherever you are, start right there. Just lift where you stand. And all of us together doing that can do amazing things.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing with accountability. Stop worrying about everybody else. Just lift where you stand. Start with you, and you'll be floored at the mountains you can move together.
Amazing. Okay. And so you really kind of hit on two things there. Part of it is, you've got to lift where you stand, figure out, where you are and move, but also the fact that you couldn't have lifted it on your own, but with your brothers and cousins and sisters and
That's
everybody
right.
else, if you assemble that team, that can also help you gain that momentum.
That's
But
right.
okay, I'm still ready for my 4 C's.
All right. I love it. Good lead in. You're very good at your job. Um, the first C is you critique success. And the real concept around this is you do it better every time. The minute you get to the top of the mountain, there's only one place to go. And that's right back down. So when you do something really well, like you have a podcast for 11 years, like this podcast, before you sit there and break your wrist, pat yourself on the back, you stop, surround yourself with people. Tell me the truth. How could it be better?
Mhm.
What needs to improve? Never rest on your laurels. Always critique your success first.
Awesome. Okay, that's number one. I'm looking for number two.
Number 2 is we correct failure. You've had a lot of entrepreneurs on your show that have said the same thing, where they talk about take risks, learn to take risks, learn to accept failure. And that is more than just a cliche or an adage. What I teach is don't just accept failure, we correct it. So when you
Mhm.
make mistakes, which you will, you stop and figure out, where was the decision point? What did I do wrong? Did I make an assumption on this data? Did I get not prepare? What? And then you correct that. So then you can keep moving forward. There's no reason to punish yourself. You're taking risks, you're trying, you're doing it. Just
Mhm.
correct it and roll.
Awesome. Okay, so when I get it right, critique and do better. When I get it wrong, pick
Correct and move
myself up
on.
and keep
That's right.
moving.
Exactly.
Number three.
Now, this next one, oh, I love this one. This one is celebrate growth.
Oh, yes.
The hardest thing that you have to deal with in life is growing, choosing growth. I do a metaphor of going to the gym. If you and I were doing bench press, we were lifting, the most important lift is the last one that ripped the muscles and filled it with the acid and made your muscle stronger. You have to go until you've gone as far as you can. You have to push yourself. And that's why that's what we celebrate. We don't celebrate your successes, because I expect you to be successful. And I don't celebrate meeting expectations. I celebrate when people go above and beyond. And that's what growth is all about.
Mhm.
You have to push, and do the things that make you uncomfortable, and then celebrate it like crazy. Go get cheesecake, go out to eat, throw a party. People are like, why are you throwing a party? Because I ran a half marathon and I never thought I could.
Mhm.
That is growth, and you
Mhm.
should go crazy with it.
Awesome. Okay, and the last one.
The last one is called crush mediocrity. All of us are infected with this. All of us have mediocrity in our lives. You do, I do. I probably have more than most people. And so I live here in Florida, and we have got the biggest bugs on the planet Earth. I don't care how clean your house is. These bugs are the size of a plate, and when I see one, I have to take a little, we call it the lonely flip flop. I take it, I have to just crush it with everything that I have. Because I know if I just tap this bug, he's going to run off and go tell all of his friends, hey, Don's a wimp. We got a place we can hang out, and they won't fest my house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same approach you have to have with mediocrity. When you see it, when you find yourself shirking, or you're stuck to a habit, or you're mean to your spouse, I don't care what it is, you see it and you just crush it with everything you have so you can move forward.
Don, this is amazing. I love the 4 C's because I think there is a lesson in there for everyone, no matter where you are in your business. At least one, but probably all 4 of those are going to be important to implement.
I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you so much for letting me come on and share that message, and being so supportive of so many entrepreneurs all over the world. It's extremely cool that you do this.
And I'm going to encourage everybody, there will be a link in the show notes to Don's Accountability Now. It's accountabilitynow.net. Check it out. Download the free guide. Learn more about what he does, because I think you're really going to find some great tools there. Don, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me on.
If you've enjoyed today's conversation and would like to find more resources for your business, be sure to check out thedigitaltoolbox.club. And then look for MTFW wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been another episode of